YouTube channel.
What's up, everybody, on Bastion YGO? This is John Ford hosting Bastion YGO on his own channel. But so I've been playing on Fluffles since like 2015 when Monarchs were things. So I've been through the struggle with this deck. I've worked out the kinks. This deck has a lot of issues. Before I get into it, there's going to be a lot of things other Fluffle players are not going to understand, so I'm just going to fully explain everything. A lot of decision making went into this deck, and it's the most consistent possible. So of course you have to start off with 3-Dog. 3-Dog is basically the main searcher. So if you normal special summon this card from your hand, you can add a Fluffle or an Imps Sabers. It's pretty basic. Definitely always at 3. Here's the first issue that a lot of Fluffle players have. 3 Penguin. A lot of Fluffle players are playing 2 or even 1. I think that's a huge mistake, especially because Master Rule 5 pretty much fixes Yu-Gi-Oh! So what this card does is it's not a hard once per turn for its first effect. If this card's on the field, you could activate its effect to special summon a Fluffle Monster from your hand. And that's not a hard once per turn. The second effect, if this card is used as a fusion material, you get to draw 2 cards and discard 1. In terms of just pure combo extension and making your opponent scared, because I do play a lot of Link 2s as well, this card is just amazing for this deck, and it should be played at 3. Any less is just a mistake right now. It's really powerful for getting your plays off, especially using the most newer card, the amazing support card, which is also a level 4 water. Fluffle Dolphin is simply one of the best things Fluffles has ever received as a deck. So its first effect is if you have a toy vendor in the graveyard, you can set that toy vendor from your graveyard and then send a Fluffle Monster from your deck to the graveyard. So you can recycle toy vendor. That's obviously what its main use, but you can send Fluffle Wings, which allows you to draw 2 cards and then get a good search off. Of course, these 2 are level 4 waters. You can instantly make Bahamut Shark with them. So using Bahamut Shark is a great way to bait anything out because everybody's afraid of Bahamut Shark. So yeah, very powerful card. Definitely play this at 3. This card, I play it at 2 because you don't always want to see this card in your opening hand. You mainly just want to get it on the board by using Fight for Repair or Fluffle Penguin. But wasting your normal summon on this card, it's not really a good thing. And it's very bricky in your hand. It doesn't do anything in your hand. Its second effect, if you use it as fusion material, you get to recycle a polymerization from your graveyard into your hand. But that's not really relevant. But it's just good for mainly chain blocking. There's a lot of chain blocking in this deck. People are going to kill me for this next one. I play 2 Bear and 2 Wings. I don't play 3 and 3 anymore.
Really?
The problem with it is that these are both hard ones per turns, right? So let's say you play both at 3 and you draw, let's say you draw 2 bears in your opening hand. That's actually really terrible because you have a dead bear in your hand that does literally nothing. Opening up multiple wings is terrible as well. But what's even worse than opening up 2 copies of each, drawing into them. Fluffle Wings lets you draw 2 cards, right? If the 2 cards you draw is another Wings or another Bear, you're just wasting such a powerful draw effect. It doesn't make any sense. People are going to hate me for that, but when you explain it to them, it's understandable. And I've been playing this deck for years. You know how many times I've drawn into these when I draw 2 cards? It happens every time. So just play it at that. The one on Fluffle Monster is Owl. Was normal special summoned at a poly. Has a second effect where you pay 500 and this card becomes poly. So there's that. Fluffle Sheep is probably the best Fluffle Monster that has always been with the deck, but received a huge boost with the new support. If you control a Fluffle Monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and that just opens up so many plays. You can bounce another Fluffle Monster to special summon an Imp as well. And last cat, if you use it as fusion material, you get to add a poly from your graveyard. It's just for chain blocking. So yeah, that's it for the Fluffles. Edge Imps, you play 3 of the new card. Don't play this card at any less. It can be tricky. it wins games.
So good.
I play Artifact Scythe in this deck, and I'll get to it later. But you can use this card to summon Whale, to pop Scythe, and pop one card your opponent controls. So Fluffles have interruption. It's actually insane. On top of that, not only have interruption, but this card also protects. So this card, it has to pop one of your cards. So if you summon this card on your turn, you can just use this effect to target and destroy itself, and this will banish from the graveyard, protecting it. But if you have a card, then this card is just dormant in your graveyard until you tell your opponent that it protects, and they get mad because you didn't tell them, but they didn't act, so it's okay.
Don't ask nothing, don't say nothing.
Exactly. 3 chain, probably one of the best Fluffles. One of the best edge imps, anyways, and will continue to be played at 3. If you're playing at 2 because Patchwork is a card, you're not playing the deck, retire it. When this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Frightful card to your hand. It can be anything you need. Frightful Fusion, it can be Frightful Patchwork, it could be Frightful Repair, and it could be Frightful Factory. You have 4 targets. Depending on the situation, depends on what you're going to get. This card is just amazing. One Saber's Plague Spreader effect gives you access to the Tiger that I'm playing to pop multiple cards. Artifact Scythe. You want to tell your opponent to stop playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Just get Scythe. You set Scythe, you pop it with Edge Imp Scythe. Scythe gets special summon, your opponent can't play. It's that simple. You don't need the Dragon Buster link anymore.
But how do you
spell cards?
how do you get it out? Like, how do you search it?
The Link Monster. So for the people who don't know what the Artifact Link Monster does, if you have a spell card, and this card is on your board, this card will trigger once you activate a spell, allowing you to set the Scythe from your deck onto the board. And the only materials for this is just 2 effect monsters. So it's pretty damn versatile. And Fluffles, we play nothing but spells, which I'm about to go into. So it's literally that simple.
I think another thing too is that since Kraken is a part of your engine, and just making a Kraken is inherently really good, it's better than the Buster Lock, because if you hard draw the Scythe, you can still set it and then just Kraken them anyway, and then you still under Scythe.
Yeah, exactly. Whale is just... I don't know if it was intentional.
Whale, not Kraken, my fault.
Yeah, I don't know if it was intentional. Our interruption card is called Scythe, and I just think Artifact Scythe was supposed to be a thing for the deck. I don't know. I think
it's a
was meant to be. Yeah.
It's like crushing.
On top of that, one more thing about this card. I did say that using Fluffle Bear, you can send one toy vendor from your deck and set it onto the board. Right. So if you activate this card, toy vendor set, you get this card out and you just flip open the toy vendor, this card will trigger its effect because now you're activating a spell card. That is such a simple way to get this card's effect to go off. So lots of Fluffle players, they just flip up toy vendor for no reason whatsoever. Now we have a reason with this Link Monster. It's actually insane. All right, now the spell cards, again, I play a lot. 3 toy vendor, best card in the deck. Discard a card, draw a card if it's a Fluffle monster. Special summon any monster from your hand, it doesn't matter. Send to the graveyard, you get to add a Fluffle or Edge Imp Sabers to your hand. It's not a hard once per turn. Fight for Patchwork, best card in the deck. You activate this card, it's a 2-for-1. You activate it, you get a Poly, and you get an Edge Imp, including Edge Imp Scythe. So if you're going second, you can activate this card. Your opponent might be afraid of it. They ash it, and they use Fluffle Wings to draw 2 cards, and then Toy Vendor will add a card to your hand, or vice versa. This card's a little bit more important. Activate the Wings in the grave. They're gonna be like, no, I don't want you to use Pot of Greed. And you say, fuck it, I get 2 cards anyways. It's really like a mind game. There's lots of bait in this deck. Speaking of bait, best card of the deck, Frightful Fusion. Miracle Fusion for Fluffles. It blindsides the shit out of your opponents. You can fusion summon from the graveyard. So you have Whale, pop in a card. You have a Tiger, pop any amount of cards. It's actually insane. Broken cards, man. Used to be the best card of the deck. A Fight for Factory. I play this card still because I use what's that card? Verdant? The fusion.
That's Anaconda?
Yeah, exactly. So when this card is destroyed, you can choose a banished fight for fusion, add it back. They can use Verdante to send this card anyway. So you can technically use this card 3 times in one turn, even though it's technically a hard once per turn. But anyways, this card you could banish a polymerization or a fusion card to fusion summon. New support card. You can banish this from your graveyard, especially summon a Fluffle from your hand. 3 polys, because Fluffles still don't have their own polymerization. Ancient Gears do, not Fluffles. I don't know.
You're afraid for fusion.
I mean,
yeah, but come on, man.
Basically a Fluffle card, considering Owl searches it and becomes it.
Yeah, it's pretty damn good. Rhoda, Push Barrel of Goods, definitely Rhoda. You send to a vendor, you get a free search. If you had Rhoda at 3, you'd definitely play Rhoda at 3. Yeah. And the one called by the grave because called by the grave. I don't play hand traps. I side them. I side Drolls. I side Ashes. I don't main it because this deck can do a lot on its own. Turn 1. I don't want hand traps getting in the way of the plays that I can do turn 1. They're just dead cards at that point. I just need to lock my opponent out. How do we lock our opponent out? Extra deck time. Yay. Free whale.
You know trap cards?
Nah. No trap cards, bro. I mean, I can play trap cards. Go back to the Sky Striker variant. Banished fucking trap cards from the graveyard. But we'll talk about that some other day. I play 3 whale. A lot of people play 2. I feel like 2 is stupid because you want to use 2 for a True King. So those people are dumb. So 1 for interruption on your opponent's turn. Another 1 for True King to make your opponent stop playing the game. I feel it's a good trade-off. Disagree with me. I'm correct. 2. You don't need 3 of this card anymore. You don't even need 2 technically, but sometimes I do miss this for link plays, for I go to Appaloosa and things like that. So you can special summon a Fifer from the graveyard, and a Fifer is used for material. And all your monsters gain a boost of 400 attack. I'm actually thinking about cutting 1 because nowadays I feel like I barely summon 1. So I feel like taking this route for another tiger or wolf might be something worthwhile. Best card of the deck. Fight for Kraken. Yeah. There's a lot of best cards of the deck.
It's all
you can use this. They're all broken. This card, it's very special. So it uses effect to send 1 monster your opponent controls to the graveyard. But the trick with this card, it's not a hard once per turn. So if you use Poly and you use this card as material with another Fluffle Monster, you can get Sabertooth back on the board, and then you can get Kraken on the board. Use Kraken's effect once again to send another monster your opponent controls. And if you have another polymerization, you can just keep the loop going. This is why I played this card at 2 for a long time. So you get another one out, special summon this card again, activate send. If you feel like you still need some power, you can use all 3 or these 2 as link material. So yeah, you have a lot of options with this card. It also attack twice. That is actually very relevant. 1 tiger to end the fusion lineup. Tiger pops cards for as much fusion materials as you use. A fight for fusion, you could potentially pop 5 cards on the board and chain block it. Oh, interesting stuff. Links, pretty standard. Cross Sheep. This amazing card. Appaloosa, thank God for the reprint. No rarity only. Totally awesome. Bahamut Shark and True King. Of course, the MVP Link Monster. This card is super easy to get out. 2 whale broken. This card easy to get out with Penguin and Dolphin. And that is it. If you disagree, let me know. But I really do feel like you're wrong if you disagree with anything here. And that's simply because of the fact I know this deck better than anybody. I know the struggle. 3 wings is not good. It's really not that good. Especially if you draw into cards you already have. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it.
All right, so that's going to be pretty much it for the Fluffle profile, guys. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Go ahead and leave a like if you did. Subscribe down below for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. And one thing that I do want to go ahead and do is start separating the deck profiles and discussion. I know some people are a little bit more interested in understanding combos. A lot of people are more interested in understanding in looking at just the profile. So it's going to be a separate video from this. So go ahead and stick around, stay tuned if you are excited for that. See you on the next one.